Voyage.
This is John Quintrell. The following is based on my life, my true story. The parts of this story you would hope are fake are the parts that are real.
We went to Trang Bang and licked our wounds. Replacements arrived, 2 and 3 at a time over a period of a week. They were quite a sight to see with their new fatigues and new combat boots. They approached us with worried looks on their faces, not knowing what was in store for them. We had survived Diamond, and the last thing we wanted was for a bunch of new guys to get us killed. For the first week, we shunned the new guys and refused to hang out with them. There was one little guy that refused to be put off. He kept hanging around me, constantly asking me questions about what to expect when we went back out into the field. He told me he was from Flint, Michigan, and that he had worked at GM before being drafted. He informed me that his drill instructor in AIT told the trainees, "When you get to Vietnam, attach yourself to an old guy." The definition of an old guy was someone that had survived the bush for 3 or more months. I guess I was an old guy. Ritter eventually called us all in for a briefing.
Wolfhounds, new pups. Welcome to another day in Suck City.
He looked awful, tired and drawn out, his usual bluster even a bit dulled. I wondered, as much as Ritter worked us over, who worked him over? Was there some commanding officer who was taking Ritter to task over what he'd done? Or maybe, and this felt more likely, what he hadn't done? I didn't really think anyone cared about Ritter's various war crimes. No, I think they cared about how many victories they could crow over. And of course, what we'd just come from was anything but a victory.
Alpha and Bravo companies are returning to the Cambodian border to construct another fire support base. Diamond 2. Charlie Company will be held in reserve if needed.
To the 10 guys that had survived Diamond 1, this was a terrible blow. We never, in our wildest dreams, thought the Army would send the Wolfhounds back there. It sounded like some kind of sick April Fool's joke.
While we hold to see if Charlie Company will be called in, we're not going to sit around here waiting to see who can contract a venereal disease first. There's been reports of a bomb maker hiding in Tung Lun Tap village.
The same village where Ritter had beaten the simple kid. I'm sure they'd roll out the red carpet for us. If anything, our actions had probably galvanized them to support the VC more.
You not eating your bacon, John?
Go for it, Sally.
Hey, thanks, man.
Some things never change in the Army. The breakfast they were serving at the mess hall included burnt bacon swimming in grease, scrambled eggs with a slight green tinge, watery oatmeal, and burnt toast. The coffee still had a bitter taste to it as well. It wasn't too bad after I added a couple packets of sugar and some milk. GIs throughout history have figured out ways to doctor up unappetizing Army food.
Hey, Merlin.
Yes?
What do they eat in Alaska?
Reindeer sausage.
No fucking way.
It's not a joke.
You godless heathens. How could you do Santa like that? How's he supposed to get the gifts to all the chimneys and shit?
I don't know. But if he's stuck in Alaska, he could also have some salmon and king crab.
What's the difference between a regular crab and a king crab?
Size. Means more meat in the legs and claws.
Guys, I can't take much more talk about real food.
I had recurring intrusive thoughts about Doc during the night. Sleep was a rare commodity. And even if we had salmon and king crab to eat, I had a feeling I wouldn't have been hungry. I was relying on candy bars and cola for energy.
Hey, John, you gonna eat your toast?
Go nuts, Sally.
Mac, what's your favorite thing to eat?
It's, not polite to say.
Now who's going to get in trouble with the Colonel? Tell your wife we need more pictures.
I'm sure she's very concerned about you. But only because I'm a friend.
Mac pulled out a new photo of his wife, another cheesecake shot. She really was beautiful.
Golly.
You're a lucky man, Mac. You and the guy taking the picture.
It's called a mechanical self-timer. They've had that on camera since the 1930s, asshole.
Sure. Is that what she tells you his name is?
I mean it. She won't fool around.
How can you know for sure?
I'll tell you exactly how. I got this aunt, see? Not even an aunt, like a cousin's aunt. This is a relative I see maybe once every couple of years. I introduced my lady to her at a family get-together. This cousin's aunt, for God knows what reason, tells my lady she's lucky to be with me. My lady says, sure, she agrees. My cousin's aunt says she doesn't know if maybe the same is true of my lady. Like maybe I'm not lucky to be with her. Like that.
Oh, shit.
Oh shit is right. Obviously, my lady is pissed.
Who wouldn't be?
Right, now jump ahead like a year later. This cousin's aunt gets sick, cancer, and the start of dementia. She loses weight, she gets funny in the head, she's falling apart. She doesn't even remember meeting my lady. And now we gotta go to another family get-together.
Oh, damn.
Yep, so I tell my lady she doesn't have to go. She says she's going. Sure enough, not 5 minutes into it, cousin's aunt comes up to her again.
I'm getting tight in the asshole just listening to this.
Yeah, but only this time, my cousin's aunt doesn't even remember meeting my lady. She thinks she's meeting her for the very first time. And my lady, not missing a beat, is sweet about it. Genuinely sweet. She understood. This lady just had a habit of saying anything that popped in her head before the dementia mellowed her out. Now, my lady could have made a whole thing of it, refused to come, refused to say hello to my cousin's aunt, and if she did, it would have devastated this sick old woman. But my lady didn't do any of that. For me, that's how I know she won't cheat.
God, Mac, that is such a beautiful story. It's going to be such a letdown when I tell you all how I know for sure my lady is definitely going to cheat on me.
We teased Mac because we obviously were wildly jealous. It was aspirational to us in a way. If a catcher's mitt-looking guy like Mac could land such a knockout gal, maybe we all could. At 0900 hours, the 2nd Platoon was picked up by a helicopter assault group. A smoke ship, we called it Smokey, was joining to lay down a wall of smoke in front of the hedgerow that surrounded the village. That would stop any potential snipers from getting accurate shots at us upon landing, in theory. As we were about to touch down, I got a sick feeling that we were landing on top of a minefield. My intuition at this point was pretty spot on. Some would call it paranoia. I called it trying to survive hell in Vietnam. As soon as we unasked the chopper, we spread out and formed a line parallel to the hedgerow. Merlin and Rich were positioned as our far right flank, and I, Sally, and Mac spread out to the left of them. We were spaced about 20 feet from each other. 2 flamethrower tanks were already there waiting for us. After everyone unloaded, the pilot took off directly over our heads and headed back for another load of soldiers. The door gunner, a hippie from California, flashed us the peace sign. Rich returned the favor with a single finger.
Screw off, you dirty bastard.
Move out!
I guess my feeling that we landed in the middle of a minefield was unfounded. We reached the hedgerow without incident. To the left of us, the tanks were crushing bamboo down as they forced their way through to the other side. On the other side of the hedgerow, there were rice paddies. The village would be located about 100 yards ahead. We climbed over the first berm and slowly walked forward on with caution. I was looking at the ground every time I took a step. We had walked about 75 yards when all hell broke loose. The hedgerow to our front opened up on us with withering AK fire. We dove onto the ground.
Let him have it!
I looked to my right, and Mac had the radio handset and his map out and was talking to someone at Jackson. An RPG round came out of the hedgerow, landing in front of the tanks. That pissed the tankers off, and they shot liquid fire into the hedgerow. I have never witnessed anything like it. The smell was a little like napalm. The hedgerow burst into flames, and the sound of VC screaming was blood-curdling. All AK fire stopped.
Hold. Take a knee. I've got to figure out what the fuck we're gonna do next.
Since the firing had stopped, I figured it was safe to open a can of peaches and sit back and relax for a few minutes. Rich and Big Sally came over.
I gotta get back to church, man.
Why?
I had a couple of rounds sing right by my ear.
Want this?
You're too good to me, John.
The only thing that made Big Sally relax was food. I gave him my chocolate bar. We could see the 2 tanks moving forward with a half a dozen GIs walking behind them. I wish we weren't here.
Me too, buddy.
My mind was flying in all different directions, and I guess some time had passed, because when Rich touched my shoulder, I flinched.
We're heading out, man.
Shit, Rich, you scared the hell out of me.
You daydreaming?
It don't mean nothing. I put my backpack on and adjusted the straps. I looked to my right and saw Mac was already moving forward, walking about 15 feet in front of the rest of us. Without warning, there was a tremendous explosion that knocked Ritter, Big Sally, Merlin, myself, and Rich off our feet. The dust and black smoke was so thick I couldn't see Mac. But I knew immediately it wasn't incoming mortars or RPGs. It was another landmine. I knew the explosion had occurred where I last saw Mac. I was coughing up black smoke, and my lungs felt like they were on fire. My brain went into auto mode, and I crawled through the dust and smoke until I saw what looked like someone lying in a hole. I knew this was Mac and that he had stepped on a 105mm landmine. When I got to him and I looked at his face, it was covered in black residue. The only thing I saw was the whites of his eyes. His right eye was partially out of its socket, tilted downward. He looked at me and said,
I'm lying on my arm. Can you get me off it?
What I saw before me was much worse than the goriest movie I'd ever seen. Both of Mac's legs were blown off, one just below the knee, the other mid-thigh. The bloody, ragged stumps were not spurting blood. The arteries and veins had been cauterized by the extreme heat from the shrapnel. Medic! I realized, sadly, that I didn't know our new medic's name. Maybe I didn't want to. Rich and Big Sally crawled up to where Mac and I were located.
Holy Jesus, not again!
The arm that Mac said he was lying on was gone, as well as the shoulder it had been attached to. When the medic arrived, he immediately told Rich and I to put tourniquets on the stumps. He got out a bottle of albumin and started an IV in Mac's remaining arm.
I need a medevac right outside Dunlun Village.
Mac never said another word. Rich and I took a poncho and put what was left of Mac on it and got ready to carry him to the chopper. As we carried Mac to the waiting medevac, our medic carried the IV bottle and handed it to the onboard medic and turned and walked away. We placed the poncho with Mac in it on the floor of the chopper. Ray and I knelt on the ground and waved at the pilot to take off. We covered our faces to avoid getting hit with debris from the rotor blades. I said a prayer right then and there. If there is a God, please don't let this man survive this. He is just too torn up. I could only imagine his wife coming to see him at the hospital, and when she saw his injuries, she would turn and walk away forever. No man deserved to have that happen.
John, you praying?
Yeah.
For Mac?
Yeah.
For him to die?
Yeah.
Me too.
Both of us were too numb to cry as we walked back to retrieve our gear. We stayed there for another hour without moving. While we did, I looked at Ritter. He was slicing up a mango again. Not a care in the world. He didn't give two shits about Mac. It would likely never occur to him that maybe, if he hadn't have abused a simple kid for no reason, maybe the village would not have been so welcoming to the VC. Maybe they wouldn't have let all those mines be planted. Maybe Mac would still be in one piece. The order came that we were going back, not to Trang Bang, but to a new base of operations in the field. The choppers showed up, and as we were loading up, we looked at each other in the empty seat where Mac's burned map and twisted M16 were lying. He had been sitting there just hours before. My mind started to wander to another place and time. It was another illusion I chose to create. I looked over, and Rich was using my barbecue to grill up some steaks.
You a medium rare guy, John?
Doc and Merlin were crawling in the grass, examining worms.
Planarians.
Big Sally had carved out an in-ground concrete swimming pool and was filling it with water from a hose.
How many women you think we can fit in this pool? Baker's dozen? Hey, Mac's lady is available now, right? Maybe she can cry on my shoulder in here, you know what I mean? John, you know what I mean? You wanna fuck her, John? Cause Mac's dead, John! So fuck him and fuck her! You know what I mean, John?
John, you dreaming again?
No. I don't know why I lied. Our new forward operating base was in a valley and was as forward as the name implied. VC had controlled that valley as recently as a month prior, I heard. Maybe we'd get run over again and I'd die this time. Distressingly, the thought was comforting to me at the moment. Later that afternoon, Ritter poked his head into the barracks.
Wolfhounds. Mac's dead. Died en route.
Damn.
At least he didn't suffer.
Well, at least not for that long.
I breathed a sigh of relief. I could not add the thought of his wife seeing him in that condition to the long list of nightmares being cataloged in that dark place in my mind.
The operation was idiotic from the start. That minefield could have stayed there and it wouldn't have mattered. That village is not some major stronghold. Mac died for busy work.
I had found myself in a quagmire of death and destruction, and I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to cope with it much longer. There was only one thing that, maybe psychotically, seemed to be the necessary and right thing to do next. We're going to put a mine outside Ritter's quarters.
Lower your voice, John.
We've got a mine we can take without anyone noticing, I'm sure.
Even if we do.
He steps on it, it's done. VC mine that somehow never got found. No one will care enough to ask more questions.
Better make sure it's not a dud.
When do we plan it?
3, 4 in the morning. Sally, you volunteer for night watch. Merlin and I will plant it. Rich, you just keep an eye out from across the way. Give us a whistle if you see anyone coming. There wasn't a ton of debate. Mac was dead, Doc was dead, Len was dead. Ritter had threatened to kill the rest of us at various points. I was under no delusion that Ritter was solely responsible for all the dead Wolfhounds, but I also knew men like Ritter were the reason more soldiers died needlessly. Big Sally relieved a guy on night watch who was thrilled to get some sleep.
It'll be just like this. You hear that? You bail. Don't slow play. Bail.
If we're doing this, let's proceed.
Merlin and I carried a landmine and dug a hole right outside Lieutenant Ritter's hooch. It was just Ritter in there. He'd step out in the morning and there was no way he could avoid stepping on this mine. No way he could know we'd put it here unless... The hole was dug. Merlin and I hurriedly dumped the mine and recovered the hole. It wasn't as smooth as I would have liked, but wouldn't be obvious unless someone really knew what they were looking for. A night owl soldier, one of the new guys, with no idea the world of shit he could have walked into, strolled through and took a piss on the grass next to the shitters, instead of just pissing in the shitters 2 feet away. It would have been funny if it wasn't so deadly serious. We managed to scuttle off in time.
It's almost noon. What in the hell is he doing? He's usually cussing us by 0600.
Someone else could walk on it.
He's got to be coming out soon.
What if he doesn't? If someone else walks on it?
No one's going to dare wake him up. That was when Ritter staggered out of his quarters, stinking drunk. He took a sloppy, shaky step, his feet hovering above the landmine. And we all held our breath.
Someone is Killing the Wolfhounds is a production of Voyage Media. The series is produced by Nat Mundell, Robert Midas, Minody Vaishnav, and Dan Benamor. Executive produced by John Quintrell. Story produced by Minody Vaishnav. Written and directed by Dan Benamor. Based on the novel My 365 Days with the Wolfhounds in Vietnam, 1968 to 1969, A Combat Veteran's Journey, by John Quintrell. The novel is available on Amazon. A link is in the show notes. Edited, sound designed, and mixed by Nick Misiti. Original music by Derlis Gonzalez. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you're listening, and subscribe now for future episodes.